Charles.
You're right. You're right. I'm not going to sit here.
Hey, Charles, I know this is new for you, but let me say you were the better team.
Bro, we have not been the better team with Daniel Jones under center.
I know, that's what I'm saying. This is new to you.
And to Daniel Jones' credit, dude is a top tier quarterback this year.
An inferior opponent. That's what happens. It's like, what is this? We led and never trailed. Yes, you were the better team. Better team. What does that mean? You had more talent. More talent. What,
bro? What are the main wide?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is another great day to discuss other people's excellence. I'm the unforgettable one himself, Mr. Brett Carroll. Charles is always daydreaming, and we're two guys like BSN at work. All right, let's just get it out the way. Panthers, Steelers, Giants, all wins. Cool. We don't got to talk about it. There was nothing really phenomenal about any of those games or opponents.
Well, I have a couple Giants things, but I can get to them later. It's not top of the news worthy.
Okay, we'll get to that. The one thing I will say is there's a lot of bad teams in the NFL this year, like a lot. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but the Steelers went from 4 to 10 in the draft order, just won that one win. So the fact that there's 10 teams with 3 wins or less is insane. I know we still have plenty of time left. Teams will, a lot of those teams will get some wins at the end of the season, but still, that's incredible that 10 weeks into the season, there's 10 teams with 3 or less wins. That's insane. That's probably a problem. They might want to fix that, but
I think it's a problem. I think it's actually good for the league because it's parity. We want parity. We want teams to suck sometimes, and a couple of teams are surprises. Like, no one expected the Packers to be this bad. No one expected a couple other teams. I'm pulling up the stats now.
The Raiders.
Yeah, the Raiders are 2-7. No one expected the Raiders to be 2-7. The Steelers and Browns both got 3 wins. So some people are going to say, "Oh, well, I saw that coming." Okay, but it's still 3-6 for 2 people in the AFC North. 1-7 Texans, 3-7 Jags. Those, we're a little bit more used to those teams sucking.
Denver.
The Rams are 3-6.
Yeah, Denver sucks.
The Bears are 3-7. The only difference is the Bears are starting to feel good. You feel like the Bears aren't going to be on this bottom for that much longer. The Lions, another team we had more faith in, 3-6. And then you have the Panthers and the Saints at both at 3-7.
Yeah, it's crazy. Again, there's still mad time left. So you've law of averages, and I know for a fact a lot of those teams will play each other. So just by process of elimination, some of those teams will get wins.
Well, to not to beleaguer the Giants' point, but in the NFC East right now, you got the 8-0 Eagles, 7-2 Giants, and 6-3 Cowboys, right? And the Giants, yesterday's win was a big win for the Giants because we only played one divisional game so far. We needed that win just in case, right? So that was a big win for the Giants to remain atop of one of the strongest divisions in the conference, if not the strongest division in the conference. And I didn't expect to say that going into the season. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I knew we were going to be. No, I had no idea that I would be saying that about yesterday's game against the damn Texans.
Well, yeah, that's why to me it's not a big win. If y'all can't beat the 1-win Texans, then y'all ain't.
Well, it was a big win for what we had to do. We never trailed. So a lot of the times this year, we've talked about how the Giants could have lost all these games, right? It's only been within one score, yada, yada, yada. And here we are. We never trailed yesterday. We were up yesterday, and we closed out the game yesterday. So,
hey Charles,
you're right. I'm not going to sit here.
Hey Charles, I know this is new for you, but let me say you were the better team.
Bro, we have not been the better team with Daniel Jones under center.
I know, that's what I'm saying. This is new to you.
And to Daniel Jones' credit, dude is a top tier quarterback this year.
An inferior opponent. That's what happens. It's like, what is this? We led and never trailed. Yes, you were the better team. Better team. What does that mean? You had more talent. More talent. What?
Bro, one of the main wide receivers yesterday, I don't remember his name, just to showcase what I'm talking about. We picked him up off the street. Like, this doesn't make sense. This is just good coaching and Charles, talent at the right positions now. Charles, talent.
Hey, Charles, it's okay. Breathe. This is what happens when you're a better team than the opponent. I love this for you, by the way. This shock of like, it's like I don't know what to do right now. I'm usually scared on Sundays, but this was kind of an easy win. Oh my god!
I lean back into the sun to give a more dramatic stare to you. Fucking dude, I'm sorry. I'm still getting used to this, but we don't need to focus too much on. Literally, the only other points I wanted to make were besides Daniel Jones literally playing that much better this year, and we all kind of got to give him some credit because he is playing that much better. He's improved exactly where we wanted him to prove when it comes to turnovers and making the right decision, taking the effing sack and not throwing an interception or fumbling it, and just knowing when the play is dead. Little things like that. Also, before the game yesterday, they said that Saquon's on pace to get 2,050 something yards and have a career year in that sense. So I'm just happy about that. I've been a big Saquon fan since before we drafted him. So I'm just, it's crazy to be sitting here right now. Daniel Jones had a passer rating of 153.3 versus the Texans. That's the highest passer rating in game in the NFL this season.
Ricky, this is Ricky Bobby right now. I don't know what to do with my hands.
Saquon had 152 yards and a touchdown, bro. Shit feels good. Because you're saying, well, you should have done that. It's been 83 years.
Hey, listen, guys, I just want y'all to know it's the 1 week I was like, yo, man, we could just breeze past this. And Charles was like, no, wait a minute. We
Man, all the times I had to hear you talk about your backup running back and how good he is and the contention that the Steelers are in, and Kenny Pickett is just Joe Burrow 2.0.
You have your shine. I'm just letting the people know it wasn't me this time. It wasn't me. He's got his Giants sweatshirt on. He never wears his Giants sweatshirt. He was ready today. But anyway, forget about our teams. We had what was the game of the year, Buffalo and Minnesota. By the way, if you go back and check our preview, that was my Super Bowl prediction. How good do I look right now? And honestly, after that game on Sunday, I hope we get a rematch because that was phenomenal. Phenomenal game. Buffalo versus Minnesota, a huge win for Minnesota because a lot of people were kind of clowning them because they didn't really be anybody great so far this year. I don't care about Josh Allen's injury. You can't take that away from them. They fought their asses off that on Sunday and they won. And we got probably the catch of the year in Justin Jefferson. I mean, I said this in our Discord chat. To me, he's the best receiver in the league. No disrespect to Devontae Adams. No disrespect.
Rookie of the year.
Yeah, no, exactly. No disrespect to Jamar Chase. This dude does it all, man. He's a crisp route runner. He's got hands. He's clutch. I mean, he's got it.
But also the irony of me, the reason why I wanted to bring up the Giants the way I did, because this dude texts me this. Oh, we got to talk about this game that I obviously didn't watch because the Giants were on. You texted me so right after that game, and I was just thinking to myself, like, does he think I was watching that game?
See, that's your fault.
No, it's not. My team. I was watching my team. My team won. I was enjoying myself. I was with my son.
My team won too. I had the game on one television. I had Red Zone on the other.
Ooh.
Come on, brother. You're not doing it right. You gotta coordinate. You gotta be able to multi.
Bro, I got a baby. I can't just be having 3 TVs on, watching 3 TVs. Like I barely watch the one TV. If I have the blessing of being able to watch that one TV.
Well, listen, don't worry. NFL Network will be replaying this game. You should rewatch it because it was phenomenal. For those of you guys who were like Charles and missed it, I'll just give you the quick recap. Buffalo was up early. Minnesota came back. I think they were down 17 at one point. Minnesota came back. They were on their way to taking the lead. Justin Jefferson, I believe on 4th down, it was I think it was like 4th and 18. So gotta have it. Made the catch of the year, stealing an interception from the safety, caught it with one hand. Somehow it never hits the ground, and he just corrals it as he gets to the ground. Amazing catch. No offense.
Stephon Diggs had an amazing catch yesterday.
Yeah, and I'll get to that in a second. They get all the way to the goal line, don't get it try to do a QB sneak on 4th and goal, don't get it. All Buffalo has to do is do a QB sneak to get outside of the end zone so that they can kneel on it and the game is over. Instead, they fumble the snap. Ball gets recovered into the end zone. Touchdown, Minnesota. You would think the game was over, but no. Buffalo marches all the way down the field, kicks a game-time field goal, goes into overtime. Justin Jefferson makes 2 more fantastic catches, and now you think the game is over because if Minnesota scores a touchdown, they win. But no, they have to settle for a field goal. So now everybody's sitting there thinking, oh, it's over. Josh Allen's going to march them down the field, score a touchdown, game over. And he does. He marches them down the field, except those a pick in the end zone, his second pick in the end zone, both by Patrick Peterson. Game is over. Instant classic. Much respect to the Vikings because they could have given up early because they looked bad, but they kept fighting. Every time their backs were against the wall. They kept grinding, and that's a game that they could have easily said, you know what, it's an AFC opponent. Even if we lose, we'll still be, tops in the conference. We don't really need to win this game. But they fought their asses off. They really did. And, much props to them. Much props to Kirk Cousins, man. He gets so much hate and so much flack for not being a quote-unquote elite quarterback. When they needed it, he made some incredible throws. One of the throws he made to Justin Jefferson along the sideline, which a lot of people thought was going to be the game winner, because there was 1st and goal in overtime, was just a dime, an absolute dime. And so, it is what it is. They play complementary football. They ran the ball well. Dalvin Cook had a huge run that kind of sparked the comeback. I think I forgot how long the I think it was like 60-something yards, but yeah, 60-something yard run for a touchdown that really sparked the team back into thinking like, hey man, we're kind of still in this. Let's keep grinding. Again, Patrick Peterson being the legend that he is, 2 picks in the end zone. It was just a great game. And to me, what I think this is the first time they played each other since the Stephon Diggs trade, which allowed the Vikings to get Justin Jefferson. If these 2 teams project the way they're supposed to project, like if they both win a Super Bowl within the next 5 years, that might be the greatest trade in NFL history in terms of it working out fantastically for both sides. Because even though I just said Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in football, which obviously makes him better than Stephon Diggs, I don't think there's any Buffalo fans saying, oh my God, I can't believe we're stuck with Stephon Diggs. I wish we had Justin Jefferson. No, like Stephon Diggs has been absolutely phenomenal for them. So I don't think in my recent memory, I can't think of another trade that has worked out this well for both sides. Obviously, there's been great trades for one side and or the other, but this, like I said, both of these teams are very happy with that trade. And it's crazy how history works. Buffalo was trying to trade for Antonio Brown. We forget that. Like that trade was done when the Steelers were trying to trade Antonio Brown. Buffalo was the team that they were going to trade him. Antonio Brown and his people said, absolutely not. I'm not playing for Buffalo because this is back when Buffalo wasn't good. So then they had to wait another year, and that's when they made the Stephon Diggs trade. So it's just crazy how history works, that had they just pulled off the Antonio Brown trade, they would not be here right now. Because obviously, I'm pretty sure at this point, it's safe to say that Antonio Brown would have talked himself out of Buffalo. But by now, at least.
Well, you brought up that the Bills were trying to trade for Antonio Brown before they traded for Stephon Diggs, and I find that interesting because obviously we covered it. I remember it, but I didn't remember it was before that trade, the Diggs trade, because the Diggs trade worked out so well. And as you know, I've never been big on Antonio Brown, especially then when I was like, I don't get why y'all are acting like he's gonna be the godsend to anything. And then I don't want to go to Buffalo because they don't win there. And he ends up going to the Raiders, and we all know how that story ends up. Buffalo dodged such a bullet not getting Antonio Brown when they were trying to, that it's crazy to see the butterfly effect, because where would have Stephon Diggs been traded to? Because you got to assume that Buffalo wouldn't have had the assets to get him. So then you start doing the math on like, okay, which team needed a wide receiver? Who would have made the move? Would the Vikings have made that said move for that team? Yada, yada, yada. And you've got to figure if the Bills made that move, they're not as successful or at least as dominant on offense as they've been since that trade. And you got to figure that Antonio Brown, like with every other quarterback in his life, would have ended toxic with Josh Allen. He wouldn't be a Bill right now. It'd be just like the Raiders chapter, something that unless you were paying attention, you don't even remember. So it's just crazy to think that.
More importantly, I don't think Josh Allen would be Josh Allen. We forget Josh Allen's ascent coincided with him getting Stephon Diggs. The reason why they wanted to get him a number one receiver was because Brian Daboll was there, and they realized the next step in this progression is we need to give him a receiver to let him throw the ball more. And at the moment Stephon Diggs got there and he had a true number one receiver, he was letting it fly. And so if Antonio Brown flamed out, and let's say just like the Raiders, it flamed out during training camp, right, early, we might not be looking at Josh Allen the same way. He might be looking like a bust because his ascension coincided with him having a superstar receiver. So it worked out. I understand why they wanted to get Antonio Brown at the time, because Antonio Brown at the time was the best receiver in football, but his ego wouldn't let him go to a team like Buffalo, and his pride wouldn't let him go to a team like Buffalo. And to be fair, this is back when Buffalo wasn't good. And it worked out. It worked out.
He wasn't the best receiver in football, but okay.
Huh?
He wasn't the best receiver in football, but okay.
At that time, yes, he was.
He wasn't.
At that, when he was on
at that time. It wasn't that many years ago. Like,
what are you talking? Yes, it was. This is this is when he was on the Steelers, when he literally led the league in receiving yards that year. What are you talking about?
Wait, he did not get traded when he was leading the league in receiving yards.
Yep. Yes, he was, Charles. This was the sixth consecutive year of him having 100 catches for 1,000 yards. This was back when he was definitely the number one receiver in the league. The Steelers didn't want to pay him because he was over 30, and he wanted to trade. But that's why
the definite number one receiver in the league usually gets paid by the team they're on.
Yeah, well, he was already a menace to that locker room. But the point of the matter is he was the best receiver in football at the time.
Yeah.
See,
DeAndre Hopkins might have something to say about that. I'm just saying.
No. Again, there's not a bigger D-Hop fan than me. I'm telling you, this is back when Antonio Brown was still the best receiver in football.
He wasn't the best receiver in football, but okay.
He was. That's okay. You just don't want to admit it because
I'm not going to, because he wasn't. So
because
he wasn't then, he isn't now, and that's what it is. So
okay, whatever you say, bro. No, he did at that time. He was doing something that literally nobody else has ever done, but that's okay. It's all right. See, Charles is one of those people, he can't separate like personal things from like on the field things. On the field, Antonio Brown was amazing. He was a headache in the locker room. That's why when he demanded a trade, the Steelers said, yeah, sure. Because at this point, it's not even worth it.
Wasn't worth keeping.
Yeah. I mean, okay.
So he wasn't the best in the league at anything if you're not worth keeping.
That's okay. All right, I'm just gonna say okay. That's not true.
I do. I know it's true because people have kept headaches because they're worth keeping.
T.O. was worth keeping, and teams got rid of him.
Was T.O. the best wide receiver in the league?
Yes. Yeah. In his prime, who is better than T.O. in his prime?
Randy Moss.
He was not. T.O.'s stats were better than Randy Moss. You realize that, right?
No, they're 1 and 2. Tied for one for a little bit, but they were always 1 and 2.
Okay. T.O. finished his okay, fine. Second best.
When T.O. finished his career, they were tied for yards.
T.O. is second in both catches and yards.
Yeah, to Randy Moss.
No, to Jerry Rice. What are you talking about?
No, then he's third because Randy Moss came back. When Randy Moss came back on the Niners, he passed Terrell Owens.
Okay.
I'm a T.O. fan, bro. Like I know this.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, so let's just say this. He was the second best receiver in the league. You don't think that's worth keeping? Like that, come on, bro. That's what I'm saying. Your point is muted. Their point is muted. Even if you want to say D-Hop, okay, Antonio Brown was the second best receiver in the league. You're missing my point. The point is, at the time, it made sense that for Buffalo to want to trade him, and unfortunately for Antonio, his ego and pride ruined his career. Like that's all it has to do. That's all this is about. You're making this about something that's not. But anyway. Other things that happened on Sunday.
Antonio Brown played. Oh, right. Sorry.
Yo, you're okay. His hatred for Antonio is just weird. Anyway,
bro, you defended him so much on the spot. I just like rubbing it in your face because he was the greatest, and you're not.
You're not rubbing anything in my face, brother. Antonio Brown's one of the greatest receivers of all time. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you say. Again, I never said I want him to date my daughter. I never said I want to have drinks with the man. But on the field, he was one of the greatest players we've ever seen. Period. Point blank. Period. That's okay, and it's okay if you don't see that. That's fine. Anyway, back to people that are still playing. Justin Fields had another incredible day. First quarterback ever to have 260-plus yard rushing touchdowns in the single season, and he did it in back-to-back games. Again, like we talked about last week, you would have thought Michael Vick
7-yard rushing touchdown this past weekend, where he looked like it was like a high school rushing play. How he was making those defenders look, those professionals look out on the field. He broke Vic's record last week, and now the next week he's running like Vic used to run, the way he cut up the defenders up across the middle. Like, that's ridiculous.
I mean, it's insane. And to me, that wasn't even the best play he made. The first touchdown he had where he broke like 3 tackles in the backfield and then ran over a dude, on the goal line, that was insane. Even the game losing play, 4th and 8, when they finally sacked him, he broke like 4 tackles before 4 guys finally corralled him. The refs are blowing the whistle. They slammed him to the ground, and the refs still didn't throw a flag because, like, yeah, we get it. Like, we understand, like, you have not been able to tackle this dude. I'm not mad at you for slamming him to the ground, making sure that you won the game, because they could have thrown a flag, which would have kept the drive going. But the refs looked at him like, "Hey, bro, I'm sorry. Like, this is your greatness right now. You can't look for a flag here. You literally broke out of 5 tackles before they all corralled you. It's 4th down and 8. This was for the game. You're going to get slammed to the ground even if we blow the whistle." But that's how good this kid is, running the football at least. We'll see what he is throwing the football. They got to get him some more weapons, and they got to improve the offensive line to allow him to throw the football more. But as a runner, I mean, my God, he's insane. He is insane. Yeah. And every time I watch him, I'm like, how the hell did the Jets and the Niners really think that Zach Wilson and Trey Lance were better prospects than this guy? I just don't get it.
Because you said it last week, Ohio State quarterback. Also, give Justin Fields some more props. Just the last 5 weeks, the football zeitgeist, us in the football world, have looked at him and said, well, it's not his fault. And I'm just, and like, the record doesn't really reflect that we all have looked at the highlights. We've looked at what he's been doing, and the consensus seems to be he needs more help because he's balling. So there is something to be said about that, because usually when there's a consensus, it's not empty. You know what I mean? I don't know how else to word it right now. It's not like, oh, we're all just like, oh, well, he's good and he's not, or he's good, it's not his fault and he's actually trash. That's not usually the case. We're not usually going to get to the end of the season. Maybe it could be the case that he's just the most talented guy on a very bad team, sure. But right now, he looks like you put a team around him, he could have the Bears finally contending in the North. Now, and that's all they really want. They just want a decent quarterback.
He still has to improve throwing the football. Again, he did throw a pick 6, which was huge because they were in control of that game, and he kind of threw the ball away. It was a terrible decision. If I'm going to give him his props, I got to also criticize him. It was a terrible decision, but he's young and he'll get better at that. But listen, as a Steelers fan, I'm getting nervous every time I'm watching this dude because I'm like, bro, I need y'all to keep. Thankfully, they've lost the last 2 games. I want them to keep losing because we have their second round pick. So I definitely want them to continue to lose. Um, torch the world next year, Justin. Not this year. All right, torch it next year. But I am happy to see that he's starting to find his footing, and he's starting to really put his stamp on this team. Chicago, the Bears are one of those iconic football franchises. It's weird to think that they've never really had a quarterback. Hopefully, this is the guy. Hopefully, this is the guy. Again, we still got to see more with the arm. We haven't really seen any highlights with the arm. Everything that we've seen have all been rushing stuff. But that's okay. Lamar Jackson was the same way when he first started out, and nobody is questioning his greatness, right? So,
I mean, people still want to question Lamar Jackson's greatness. He's one of those quarterbacks just because you notice the people that want to question his greatness always want to point out, well, he only threw this much. He only threw this. But his passer rating among these type of things, and completely neglecting the fact that he'll have 1,000 yards rushing in a season. Like that means nothing. So,
well, all right, let me put it this way. Nobody legit questions Lamar Jackson. The people that it's to the point when people still hate on Lamar Jackson, the consensus is like, yo, please shut up and go somewhere. Mm-hmm. So you're right.
The Bears are just different than the Ravens. The Ravens were a playoff team. The Bears are 3-7. And the points allowed isn't the worst in the division. That goes to the Lions, which shouldn't surprise anybody. And the points for, ironically, are worse than the Lions. So it seems to be an offensive issue. The only offense that seems to be worse in the North, ironically, is the Packers that I only have 185 points for. So fuck if I know what that means. When you look at the standings, it doesn't really make sense. All you can do is I guess they have Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers really hasn't played well this season. So I don't know how much you can chalk up them being second in the North to anything more than just the luck of these games and how they've shaken out. Because the Vikings division
is bad. That's just what it is. Division.
Oh, it's the Vikings. The Vikings have no excuse to not win the North, period, let alone no excuse not to compete in the NFC this year. Yeah, if they have a year, this is their year to come out the NFC.
Yeah, it's literally right now, all the other teams are in the top 10 in terms of draft order. So that whole division is bad. And they're going to just beat up on each other for wins at this point. The Lions' last 2 wins have been against the Packers and the Bears. So they're probably not going to win much more games this year besides when they turn around and play the Packers and the Bears again, and vice versa. So, that's what that is. But I just want to give Justin Fields his props because, again, dude's balling, and it's not his fault that they're losing. I hope that continues to be the case. I hope he continues to ball out, but they lose because, like I said, selfishly, I want the Steelers to have a high second-round draft pick. So, keep doing that. Keep running for 67-yard touchdowns at a loss. You know what I mean? That's the only thing I can say about that. I don't think anything else of note really happened yesterday. The Cowboys were the Cowboys. Just when you think they can't,
the Raiders lost to a guy that just got hired the same
Jesus
week.
Christ, yeah, that. Jeff Saturday beat the damn Raiders. I mean, my God. Josh McDaniels, you were the worst NFL head coach in the history of head coaches.
Oof. You can't say that. Urban Meyer would just happen.
I can. Here's why. He wasn't good in Denver. He's not good here. He's had talent in both places. By the way, irony of he turned down that Indianapolis coach job. We forget about that. He had the job and reneged.
It went back to the Pats.
Went back to the Patriots. That's why they had Frank Wright in the first place. So the fact that Jeff Saturday, who has as much experience coaching as me and you, went in and went on the road and beat the damn Raiders is insane. It's just flat out insane. Josh McDaniels is one of those people. He's one of those guys that gets all the credit for Brady because it's bro, you haven't done shit anywhere else you've been. You're only successful with the Patriots, and we know now that the GOAT is the GOAT. So was it really you, or is it, the fact that
No, absolutely. Josh
like,
McDaniels is a coordinator on a team that has the GOAT coach. Because I think that the problem with the Bucks title and Tom Brady's flowers is that there's some people that are just trying to completely discredit Bill Belichick. Like the Pats are still competitive. Like they didn't fall off a cliff. The Pats just aren't a team you can just be like, oh, we're playing the Pats this week, because they'll win. They'll beat you because Bill Belichick is still coaching there. Like you can make the criticisms that he's not the greatest GM. Sure, he's made very questionable picks in the higher rounds, ironically, than the later rounds because his defense has always been decent. So obviously he's drafting well somewhere, just not at the wide receiver position. And I say that because his coaching tree is one of the weakest coaching trees of any great coach. Not that saying there's that many great coaching trees. I think Bill Parcells has the best one, because the amount of people that are trickling out for him are ridiculous. Same goes for Mike Shanahan, Kyle's dad. Like his coaching tree is actually pretty ridiculous when you look at the coordinators he had 10 years ago on the Skins. So I say that because McDaniels is one of these overhyped guys, like you said, that has had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, and you've had talent. Now you've had the inverse of what you had at the Pats, and you have no excuse. This is on you. You've been out-coached. The only coach that came from Belichick's tree that has looked consistently good is Vrabel. Vrabel looks like, the real deal, good for you, and he makes up for all the ones, for all the Joe Judges that are out there. Vrabel's the one that you can be like, hey, man.
He's literally the only one. He's literally
the dude, and I'm sorry, I just blanked on his name. He's suing the NFL, the Dolphins coach.
Oh yeah,
and there's a couple other coaches out there right now. They're not shitty. You know what I mean? Like they're just not great. So like give them more time. Like coaches, if you have a couple coaches that go 6-win in their rookie season and get fired, that's not on them. That's unfair. Like. So yeah, I don't want to say the entire tree, but only Vrabel's the only one that you're looking at and pointing to like, oh, he's really good. Ironically,
Brian Flores is what I forgot about Brian Flores. But I mean, he's had
Flores and Dable, man.
Those are both so many, and they've all sucked. I mean, you would think hopefully you get 2 out of that, but
I'm saying Flores, Dable, but Vrabel is at the top. Isn't Dable from the same coaching tree?
I don't think so.
Where was he before Buffalo? I can't remember where he was before Buffalo.
I don't think he was. I could be completely wrong, but I don't think he's a Patriots guy. I think he's from. I mean, because think about it, he doesn't do anything the Patriots do. They throw the ball.
Bro, he was the Pats defensive assistant 2001, wide receivers coach 02 to 06. And I'll go backwards from the Bills. He was at Alabama as the OC and QB coach. Tight ends coach for the Pats 2013 2016.
Okay, so all right, so Dable. Okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know he was a Patriot.
So I'll go chronologically. Volunteer assistant. He started out as a volunteer assistant at William and Mary, Michigan State, the New England Pats, the New York Jets, the Cleveland Browns. He was the Cleveland Browns coordinator in 2009 and 2010. Offensive coordinator. Then he was the Dolphins offensive coordinator in 2011, the Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator in 2012 before returning to the Pats. And he left the Pats in 2017 for Alabama to be their OC and the quarterbacks coach. And then he got back with the Bills in 2018. So that's why I'm not some genius. I do not remember coaching trees like this. I remember coaching trees of certain people because I like them stylistically. And as you guys know, I'm a Bill Belichick fan because he's a Giant, and I like Saban in college because of his style. It's one of the only things in my life that it's like I'm the old school sense, like 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and the defense is usually punching you in the face. Like when it comes to college football, I have the Hurricanes and all these other schools that want to do the trickery and all that and all the fancy shit. And you got Alabama, who has this big ass guy that's going to run up the middle and punch you in the mouth. And that's what I like with college football. So that's why I knew that. I just want to let everyone know. I as you can tell, like I'm usually, I don't fucking know, but
right
between for a good Bill Belichick and Brett froze. He froze for a second. Oh God, I wonder what the people saw.
It says your internet connection is unstable. All right, I'm just gonna wrap it up here because fuck this.
Fuck this, man. We came in here actually excited to talk about the minutia today. And this fucking internet connection, the Italian came up. This fucking internet connection. The fuck?
The
fucking Goomba.
You know what this means? We're supposed to talk about our team. So that's what this means. For all you haters out there, like you talk about your team.
Yo, the internet was fine when I was talking my Giants.
Right. This ain't never happened when we.
Yo, how many?
This ain't never happened when we had a whole pod about the Steelers and the Giants and the Panthers. I'm just saying. We talk about the Minnesota Vikings, and then the Zoom's like, ew, Minnesota. Like, what?
Did the Jets win?
The Jets were on bye. They're on the bye. Yeah, so
they're on the bye.
So they won in terms of they couldn't lose. So that's good.
Bro, I'm not joking. Yesterday was one of those like put on my game. And that was the most focused I was being. I was just like, I'm watching the game. My son watched the game. Still, the legacy continues. The only 2 losses we have, he was not able to watch. So watch out for us. As long as my son's watching these Giants, it's real. You can find me at Not the Chuck D on all the socials.
He's got a birthday party. No, the game is on. The game is on.
Bro, hey, we're in the playoffs, and this is still continuing. You'll be like, hey, can he come over and watch the draft at my house, though?
It's like no matter what, he's not allowed to miss the game for the rest of his
life. He got here, and one of the first photos I have of him that like is a natural photo of me just holding my son was me watching the draft and my reaction to us actually getting Kayvon Thibodeau. I'm holding tiny him. He's only a couple weeks old in that photo. So and now you saw him.
Yeah, I don't think he might have been just a month.
No, he wasn't a month. It was in April.
Yeah, but she was like the last week of April, though.
Yeah, so he's 3 weeks old?
Yeah. I'm about to say he might have been like just at that, like
he wasn't a month yet. I know that for a fact. He was not a month old yet.
That's crazy.
And it's crazy to see that photo. So I'm going to try to take a photo wherever the Giants end up. So I got photos of almost every week of watching games with him, and the growth is stupid. Like how much he's grown just in the football season.
Oh, poor kid's gonna be like 18. Like, Dad, I want to go to the party. No, the Giants are on.
We have 18 Super Bowls, boy. This is bigger than you.
It's not my fault. You were the chosen one.
You are the chosen one. Sit in the damn chair. I'm too big for the chair. Sit in it. We need more rings.
This isn't guaranteed anymore.
We've won for 18 years. You will win until you die.
You don't know what the dark ages were like before you were born.
This is glorious, right?
When Daniel Jones was a bust.
The house of the Giants will never fall.
Oh my goodness. You can find me at
What are we doing?
You can find me at Never For Brett Me. That's NEVA_4 BRETT_ME on Instagram and Twitter.
I'm at Not the Chuck D on all the socials, www.thedope.blog, _dope blog on Instagram, the dope blog, all one word on Twitter. And we have no excuse. Like I barely have had coffee. I don't even know what this is. I'm just fucking delusional. Like
between this and the Zoom, it's just time to go.
Between the Zoom, nobody in this house slept last night. I don't know what the hell. It was like no one was in a bad mood. The kid wasn't crying. He just couldn't sleep either. So it was just like one of those like, it's gonna be a Monday tomorrow, and it's a Monday so far.
Once again, you guys didn't understand. Like, oh my god, like we beat an inferior team, and so you guys were just all just up last night. Like
we were all jacked up on Mountain Dew, bro. We were just like.
Please like, share, subscribe, and join us next time as we continue to discuss other people's excellence. Peace.